A little earlier, I spoke to News Limited's defence correspondent and military author Ian McPhedran and started by asking him if he thought Stephen Smith should apologise.
I don't believe so. I think the report makes it clear that that Commodore Kafer didn't err in law or any other way, and Stephen Smith made it clear in his comments that he thought, his legal opinion was, that Commodore Kafer should have been more sensitive. Now, the report says that he was wrong. He has released the report. He has made it clear that Commodore Kafer is coming back to work this week. That's not a decision for Stephen Smith. Neither is a decision to stand him aside. That's a decision for the line managers, in this case the Vice Chief of the Defence Force. So, you know, at the end of the day, Stephen Smith is in charge under the Defence Act of this country. But no, I don't think these. I think these calls for him to apologise by the old generals and others are a little bit over the top, to be perfectly honest.
Did he go too far at the time, though, using the words stupid and insensitive? He says he doesn't resile from that one bit. And with that in mind, you know, you would assume he doesn't really have confidence in Commodore Kafer as head of ADFA.
I think he was just talking about that one decision, you know, one decision among many. I don't think the general issue of confidence in someone should be based on one decision. He's obviously got a difference of opinion with Kafer on that issue and a difference of opinion with a lot of people in defence. But he is the Minister for Defence, and I don't know what he was told at the time either. You know, these issues are very, very tricky, and often ministers are, if not misled, then certainly not told the whole story at the time, and then he's got to go out into the public arena and make a call. Now, I'm not defending Stephen Smith. I just think these calls for him to apologise are way over the top.
Well, one of those calls came from Jim Molan, and he actually said yesterday on Sky that he has never struck a minister who's been held in such low regard by defence and to such low levels of defence. Would you agree with that, or is that overstated as well?
No, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, I've been around for a long time watching defence, and I've been through, you know, many defence ministers, probably 10. And I can tell you that at various times through that period, various generals, admirals and air marshals have said to me and others that they believe the current minister is the worst they've ever had. This is not anything new. This is just defence trying to flex its muscles. But, you know, under the Defence Act of this country, the Defence Force answers to the Australian people through the Defence Minister, Stephen Smith. So I think these guys should just take a powder and get on.
What about the more broad DLA Piper report that found 775 cases of abuse stretching back 6 decades? What are the implications of such a far-reaching report? Are we going to see a Royal Commission or a national apology? What do you think?
I think we probably will see a Royal Commission. I think this is the real story out of yesterday too, by the way. I think the Kafer thing is a bit of a sideshow. This is the real story. 775 credible cases. I know of dozens of others that didn't come forward to the DLA Piper review or tried to, but were treated pretty poorly by that review. So Stephen Smith's right this morning when he says there'll be many more. There certainly will be. This will be in the thousands of cases, and I believe that this will take years to sort out, and the only way to get to the bottom of it all, in my view, will be a Royal Commission, followed by vast compensation claims and a national apology. I think this is, there's no doubt about this. Some of these cases are utterly horrendous, and the only way to resolve it will be with the powers of the Royal Commission, and I think that's what we'll see in the end.
We've seen Defence draw a line in the sand before, several times before really, about its culture. And they've done that again with the release of these reports. Do you think that the culture in Defence can be changed for the better, or is it too entrenched?
I think it is changing. I think it's much more modern now than it was. I think in the last 10 years it's changed. I think people like Angus Houston and now David Hurley and others are very, very committed to it. They realise that having 50% of the population, that is the female half of the population, too worried or scared to become members of the Defence Force is utterly ridiculous. So it has to change for a whole lot of reasons. And these are modern thinking people. And I think as women move up through the ranks and become more entrenched in the senior roles in defence, of course the culture will change. Now, we're still talking about a culture of people who are trained to go out and kill on behalf of their country. So we have to put that in perspective as well. This is not a place for the faint-hearted, but it's also not a place where, you know, misogynists or buffheads from another generation should be protected and able to get on with this nonsense that we hear about. But I do believe it's changing. It's a slow process, and I'm sure it will happen ultimately.
Ian McPhedran, thank you.
Thanks, David.